one of the interesting things is I forgot to post and advertise that we're having a show today. And I thought, well, that's odd. I go to type in, do a lot of things, that gets screwed up. And one thing after another, it seemed like a domino effect. I feel like I'm on the wrong day, I have 2 shows on Mondays, and I had typed both of them in, but I had the other one set up for us, and that's tonight's show. And it's like, well, why is this all happening? I feel like I'm in the wrong timeline. So when you are living in a paradox, it is where you are living one way, and then all of a sudden everything else seems to be just oddly different. Living another way. 2 parallel universes running side by side.
People call it the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I am.
Reference.
But if I were to just be human, I would just call this grief, be pissed off, swear. I would, that'd be my first reaction, because that is what we teach ourselves of when we're thrown off our center. Who do we become? Well, I don't know how to do this. I can't process this. And when that occurs, you scramble. The blood leaves your forebrain, 80% of it leaves your forebrain, and it goes into fight, flight, freeze. And you're scrambling to survive. Now here's an interesting thing. Survive from what? What's going to happen if I didn't get the show on the air right away? Well, I will eventually get the show on, or if it's not meant to be, then I don't have to lose my head over it. Last night before bed, one of the main things I was healing was the will to survive. Yes, that sounds kind of odd. I mean, consciously, yes, I'm poking through, I can do this, I can conquer. And that's one of the things that we as souls had learned to do, was to conquer, because the caudate nucleus is about that fear. And to overcome fears through anger, which is also to conquer. But here's the interesting part. Last night, as Jen and I are having one of our jam sessions. A jam session is where you don't have to have a bitch slap or anything. It is just observing the day, or observing particular things that are happening, and then you start jamming, doing your best to listen to spirit and listening to all of the synchronicities that will actually show you the puzzle pieces, and forming some of them together to create a specific story that you have written for yourself.
Well, yeah, taking a look at the anomalies, what's odd, well, somebody said normally people, this kind of person or these people talk to me this way. Today, they were talking to me this way. That's odd. And so it's just a just a position of curiosity. Just, well, yeah, okay, well, and it wasn't just that. Well, wait a minute, something else happened. So it's lining those things up to make the story, to say, wait a minute. And so then all of a sudden, for me, I'm in the process of really looking at some major changes and transitions in my life that are possible, and it's like, how do I want it to happen? And it's like, what are those old programs? What are those old familiar feelings? What did I used to do? And just taking a look at that.
Yeah, and one thing you have to pay attention to is that it doesn't stick out. Stick out is that one where it gets your attention, and you do a double take, and you can't help but notice that you noticed it. Now this is very important for you to understand, because we're making known the unknown. But what's remarkable about you is that you already know it all. And there are things that you have created and experienced all through time, which causes you to have different memory pockets and different things that are stored. And to live in this moment is to be awakened to the fact that you are remembering specific things, and what they call, what do I want to call it? It is frequency specific. And as you are beginning to realize that they're happening, when you're awake, you don't judge anymore. Okay, when you begin to really awake, you have those transitioning stage, and there's the gestation stage of where you're growing. But when you awake, really awake, you don't care to judge anymore. You don't care to be in that mindset, because it isn't about survival. It's much, much more than that. Now, I have been awake for a long time, so why would I say that, it's much more than survival? It is, because I know I can survive. But I have all of history, all of my genetic line, all of the world's, line, all of the code for being a female, being a Christian, or being this, or being that, living in this part of the world. And so what? Well, it makes a big deal because it's group consciousness. And the group consciousness is what we play in and out every day. As a little girl, one of the ways that I survived was that I could pick up the frequency of what you're thinking and feeling. Did I really want to do that? No. But that was part of who I was. It was part of my gift. It was part of... now my job is to decipher. So I was working, and this weekend there was a festival in Ovid, and one of the people that is in the group that I belong to, it was interesting because I could not function for almost 2 days. I thought, what's going on with me? Yes, the world is changing. I can feel the frequency. But all I can pick up was it's a longing for the good old days. Now, what's funny is that characterizes the group that I'm in, which is the Historical Society. And it's funny because it's like you can long for the good old days, or you can preserve those memories and allow people to enjoy them just as much as you do. But there's a yearning and then a longing. And a yearning is that you've never really had it and you want it. Longing is usually that you've had it and you still want it. So here's the thing. I kept picking up this longing, and the only thing I could long for was my bed. Longing to take a nap.
Oh, how I've missed you.
Yeah, like a kitty cat. You're like, oh my God. And it's like longing. I didn't care to eat. I didn't care to do anything. I just wanted to curl up in my bed. And I thought, seriously. And it was just driving me crazy, because there was no way to even eat food in the morning and the afternoon. And I couldn't even eat until almost 8 or 9 o'clock at night, when my body's like going, oh, okay, everything smells all right, it doesn't stink, and I don't have to, I felt like I was pregnant, but I don't have the parts to be pregnant, so, don't worry about that. I don't need to be checked, trust me. But it's that part of myself that says something's wrong. And so I checked my blood pressure, and it was elevated to some degree, so that can explain some things, but I just kept feeling this longing. And so for me, it sticks out in another way. My behavior is different than who I am. It's like, wait a minute, what am I acting out? Why is it necessary for myself to be acting it out? So you want to notice when it sticks out. You want to know when it's familiar pattern. The only problem when it's a very familiar pattern and it doesn't stick out, it becomes a natural process. When you have the natural process, the problem is you don't even know when you're doing it. Isn't that right, Jen?
True story.
And usually then that's when your friends go, oh, well, I can point it out. You're doing it now. And you're like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. So that natural process, it's when you have done it repetitive enough times that you can do it in your sleep, in which you have and probably are. So the importance of the will to live, or I should say, not sorry, that's different. The will to live is different than the will to survive. So the moments that each time that they take place is very much marked because it's your journey. It's marked with your definitions, and then it's marked with the RTJP that you think that other people think is that definition, and then there is the definition that's presented to you from the other person, but still through your translator. And you have to be aware of the fact that when you take it personal, this is where, and you know what it means to be human on the scale of pain, suffering, grief. So at 3 years old, I'm knocked off my happiness center, and I go into fight, flight, freeze, and part of me is like, why is this happening? It doesn't make any sense, but how does one recover? So last night I was working on that will, which is the volition to move forward. It is your will. It's your 100% of free will to do with your energy, create what you want, and it's up to you how you want to do it. Well, part of me used at least 60% of my will to survive, and which was, oh hell, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to repeat it. So then I start feeling that I lost my rights, or the entitlement factor. And what is the entitlement factor, Jen?
Well, let's talk to somebody who actually did that. So, I know we were talking about this last night, but the sense of entitlement that goes to, it's kind of like a flip side to abandonment, that I know what it's like to be abandoned. I know what it's like for people to leave and ditch me. And so then it's like, well, I don't want that to happen again, so I'm going to come into this situation, and it's like squatters' rights. Boom, I'm here, and I'm entitled to be here. What's your problem?
You see her eyeballs when she says that. Freaky.
So, but that's how I lived for a long period time in my life, because I had to overcome that idea of people ditching and abandoning me. I was like, well, that ain't gonna happen again. Yeah, try to make me leave. And then it was like, oh, well, I don't want to be here anymore. Bye-bye. I had the freedom to go, but it was like, they didn't.
And what's funny is that I took a different route and made a different choice as a kid. So I didn't have squatters' rights. I got the hell out of there because I didn't want the consequences, where she was willing to put up with the consequences.
Oh yeah, bring it on.
Okay? And please be careful when you say that to the universe, because the universe does.
Cancel. Yes.
Bring it on.
I will. I have a whole year of proof of that.
So the idea is this: what decision did you make after that first response? And what kind of thing attacked you? Because it's energy that was in motion, and you were the observer, and you felt it in so many different levels. All I know is that I wanted to stop. I never wanted it to happen again. My sensory overload could not handle what was happening. And therefore, since I didn't know how to handle it, then I stayed hidden. I withdrew as part of my survival or my addiction, which is a problem. Because everybody will say, well, I have the will to live. And I'll say, give me your arm. What do I mean by that, Jen?
Let's muscle test.
Say, now I have the will to live.
I have the will to live.
One.
Hey, it's a 1. I'll take that.
Your soul is the recorder of the journey of your true identity. And it has to go through the caudate nucleus, which is the place that governs fear, and also joy. And if you have, on a soul level, not created intensity to have I have the will to live, or I have the will to do this, I have the will to do that. But if it's a negative or positive, one of the things is going to help you. So even though you consciously say, I have the will to live, you're mustering it up, you're pulling it up, you know the intensity in that moment, but that's not what's going to make you get you through it completely. It will help you conquer. It will help you get through that moment. But if you don't have the foundation in your soul's pattern that says to you, oh, I have the will to do this, then you will then all of a sudden have a tendency to just start going with the flow of it, which isn't a bad thing. But I would always have dreams where I'm drowning, and all of a sudden I just go with the flow of it. I just let the water consume me. And it was easier to do that because I could not get past that initial reaction of something bad to occur, and I couldn't create any other pathways beyond that about how to get out of it. So sometimes you must be consumed. But if that's all your memory is that you're consumed, then you lose the will to create beyond that spot. And this is why you repeat certain habits, so that you can conquer it, so that your brain will then say, we can then just cut through the fear and come up with this reward on the end. We have a call. Excellent. One of the things that I'm going to do before we get to the caller is that Octarine, and she said, this week the planets are pushing us to deal with our childhood. what we learned from our grandparents through our parents the first 14 years. So that's interesting to know that that's the energy that is helping persuade, or it's a choice, that our soul says, okay, if I'm not on this mile marker, and we create these energies around us to help us get past, to move, go into that next stage of where we're supposed to be. And so this mile marker that we are at is to, okay, once again, it's come to the surface, ready to, as Karen says, pushing us to evolve in a big way. And so the energy is going to be more intense, okay? And so you can either fight it, have a bitch slap, or you can work with it, because that's who you are, is that you're awakening, and you can consciously start working with it. Instead of saying, oh my God, my flaws are showing.
They are? Where are they? I better put on a coat.
So it's time to change the word flaw. Okay. Just like when people are saying, oh, there's some sarcasm, criticism will help you grow. No, feedback and brainstorming. You're learning to work with it, not be against it or be the enemy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the caller, area code 334, and as soon as she clicks, you'll be on the air with Brenda and Jen.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, good day, lady.
Well, hello, dear. How are you?
I am full of wonder. How are you?
We're excellent. We're really observing how the energies really are today. So how can we help you, my dear?
Well, what it is that you feel my soul wants to stay on this glorious day on planet Earth.
Okay. A lot of blue comes up for me right now, and it is a beautiful blue. It's a deep blue, so that means you're going deeper onto another level of choice making, using the volition, the will to make a deeper choice, from what I can tell. I see you caring and observing for others, which is wonderful, but I also feel like, they show me a picture that you're grabbing onto a rope, and but it's slipping. Even though it has knots so that it can help you hold on, you're slipping. It's like it was greased, or it was not meant to be hung onto. So I got to find out what this is about. Oh, that would make sense. Okay. The thing is that, are you in the direction that you're supposed to be in? Are you supposed to, this here is a form of a path switch to some degree. Are you supposed to keep helping those people over and over? You know, so your soul is saying, actually, no. You are to be moved. Yes, do tell.
I'm just chuckling because that was something related to that was on my mind.
Okay, they're saying that it's time to move forward because you've done all that you could as far as seed planting, helping, but now you have to create a boundary so that you don't live their life. They have to take that choice and live theirs. That might mean that you may look selfish, or you may, you know, you don't care anymore, but you got to be careful of that talk, because it's all about being hooked. And you don't need to be hooked and pulled back in to the expectation lifestyle that they want. This is about you being of service on the planet, helping, but knowing when to create the boundary so that they can start to evolve from their point. Instead of you living their life, you're actually teaching them to fish. But if they don't want to learn, that's not your fault. You did what you were supposed to do, now to move forward. Jen, what'd you get, dear?
I love it.
Okay.
That was good. That was like I had that on my mind. To run it forward.
That's what we like to talk about. Okay, Jen has something for you, dear.
Okay, I pulled a couple of cards, and I love this deck. It's called Voyager Tarot, that my mom got for me like a good 20 years ago at a Whole Life Expo in LA. We love this artist and the person who put this together. So the Fool Child is, these are good cards, like the fetus and dependent child, you live on faith in the order of the universe. You know that you are taken care of. In accepting this higher law, you can be the fool. You can relax. Be yourself. Take risks and play. And then I got the Ten of Worlds, which is reward is symbolized by the Jupiterian Wheel of Fortune. Life has turned favorable. It is a cornucopia of riches symbolized by the overflowing market basket. You were rewarded by the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for your work well done and completed. Reward yourself and others.
So overall, that's saying what, Jen?
That you know you can depend on the universe to provide for you, and you can relax and live into that and be rewarded for the work that you've been doing.
So what's funny is I watch her, as she's moving forward and doing what she needs to do, I also see her going, working with these people are no fun, or working, how much do I have to tolerate before I move forward? Because she's awakened, but she's with people that are kind of, I don't want to say holding her back or stunting her growth, because it's considered more as a, let me think, what would it be really considered as a grief. And that's one of the things that I felt's been on the planet this morning, is the word grief. And what the minor griefs are, actually are the cobblestone that creates our pathway, and it doesn't have to necessarily be the foundation, but it's like the pathway. And they're saying that is the grief is the main thing that they want you to clean up. And it doesn't mean grief by crying, unless it is just like, oh man, really? Like today, I'm trying to get ready for the show. Everything's going smooth until the last 10 minutes. All of a sudden,
It's like blah, 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 blah.
I did everything wrong. Yeah, I got ready for the second show, not to the first show. I got ready for the half of the other show. I had half things done. I said, this isn't like me. What's happening? And to me, that was a form of grief, because I had to double take, work faster, get into the correction process, having to let go of certain things that didn't get done. And so that was a form of grief. But do I have to take it in and follow the same pathway that I had before of what grief is? So they're saying that they would like you to heal that. And so I'm asking what would be the best way. And, bashfulness, that's interesting. Bashfulness to me, when I'm seeing this word, what pops up is that I don't like to do it. So whatever it is that you don't like to do, that is considered your grief. And you easily can just do that with the meridian tapping. But if there's accumulation of a repetitive familiarity, then I would say to use hope therapy. And now where are they going? They're showing me the expanded importance of self, that there's a part of you that knows that you are important, but you have grief over that. Now I got to check, is this grief to yourself? Picked up what that grief that it's wrong to? No, it's grief about the importance? No. They're being very specific here, but they're not helping me out, so just give me a second. The self. No, it's the importance. You keep your head above water, and you allow yourself to, that's funny you threw that card. Okay, you keep your head above water, you allow yourself to always talk happy, be happy, feel it, allow it in, express it, have everybody else come in. But you have to now breach it and reach higher than you did before. You have to find your importance even greater than what it is, because your calling is much stronger. And there are things that you're going to have to do that you don't like, which is where you're going to have to heal the grief so that it doesn't have to keep stumbling you every time you go to reach for the stars and let yourself be seen by people. Okay?
I got it.
Okay, and so grief happens to be in many forms. So I'm asking, if we do hope therapy, they want you to hold R2S. R is in the right, second position, soft. Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty.
I got it.
Amen.
And then you were right on too. You won't hit you won't hurt from my soul.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Right on.
Yes.
Thank you, dear.
Namaste.
Namaste, dear.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
Stay blessed. Okay, we like when things just roll and that we understand each other, and it's always good to be in sync.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
And we're going to
and-
go to the next caller.
All right.
Area code 770.
You're on the air with Brenda and Jen. Hello.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Shannon, and I'm actually I'm kind of like on a search of my journey. I'm trying to find some clarity.
Okay.
Like I'm emotionally all over the place, and I'm just, I want so much further in my circumstances to change. I mean, I know I need to make a decision, but I'm having such a hard time making a decision.
Okay, and usually that'll be a sign that the will is being compromised. Your will to move forward, when you have all of your will, you make clear decisions. When you have, when you are being bombarded with different energies, then the will to survive ends up being very cloudy, and it causes you to be in the state of being in the middle of your hells. So the thing is they're asking for you is to learn how to transform and use intuition and be patient. Now, I'm going to look a little deeper, and you're doing a particular pattern and routine, which then becomes like factory work. It gets to the point where it's taxing. You start to lose who you are to some degree. And it's not that you don't love what you're doing, it's just that it becomes very repetitive. And so then your soul wants to spark you to move forward. Okay? You understand so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is that it is that feeling, your soul is trying to get you to move, trying to get you to wake up, trying to get you to understand that, yeah, it's okay to have what you have, but let's look an area in your life that doesn't look like it's working, and now let's put our attention there and to resolve the issues that are there. Okay, Jen, what did you find?
Okay, so I'm using the Enchanted Map deck from Colette Baron Reed and pulled the Strength card first, and it's reversed, and I got this card and I just wanted to start crying.
Because you don't have any strength left. It feels very
Oh my
drained.
gosh, it's like my head is spinning and I just want to cry. When you see the Strength card reversed, pay particular attention to your health, for this indicates that your body, mind, and spirit needs strengthening at this time. Exercise, rest, and proper nutrition are necessary to keep you in balance. Don't deplete yourself through overwork, as now is a time for building your stamina. Perhaps you feel the bonds weakening in a relationship. If they are in danger of being broken, they may need repair. Attend to them before the burden gets too heavy. Be strong, face the reality of your relationship at this time, and give your attention to any fragile threads that may give way. Let go of whatever robs you of your life force and trust that something better will take its place. And then I got the Commitment card in the upright position. And so partnerships formed at this time are harmonious and powerful. Which is interesting. The Commitment card also indicates the natural evolution of a relationship from its inception to a literal or metaphorical marriage. At the very least, there's a promise of fulfillment in some form. However, you must be conscious of what you're committing to. Be clear about the nature of your commitment and your responsibility to it. Others are more willing to enter into partnerships at this time. Remember that your partnership with Spirit and the highest version of your own self will engage the highest self in another. So it's almost like, so what happens when you're in this depleted state? All of a sudden you make a commitment to something.
Or she needs to, or she did.
I feel like that's a pattern, that what commitments are made from this point of depletion.
Yeah, because it shows me in the large intestine, and that's where the dogma is. That's where you want to cry, you feel defensive, you got to make things neat, it's your job to correct. And then at the same time it goes into the state of contemplation, where all of a sudden you're trying to make sense of your world, but you're completely losing life force power to this whole thing, which causes you to be frozen, and yet your spirit wants you to move. Does this make sense so far?
Yes, like there is a relationship that is, it's kind of stagnant. It's up in the air for 5 years. I feel like I'm not getting fulfillment from the person. It's not that I don't want to be with this person. This person's not giving anything back in return. And it's not like they're saying they want to break up, they don't want to deal with me. They're just putting me on hold.
Coasting.
Yes.
It's distressing. It's like, okay, so do I walk away? Am I walking away because I'm just not patient enough to wait for this person to go through whatever it is they're going through, or am I, wasting my time because, they're never gonna say anything.
Okay, well, they want you, what Spirit is saying is they want you to be patient with yourself and have the encouragement to transform. I pulled 2 cards about relationships as you were thinking about this person, and it says that there's a part of you that's tired of it, keep engaging and making the effort, and you would like to see the response coming back at you and with you to working together. And the thing is this is where you have to make a choice. This is what I did with my relationship with my husband now, is that back in December I said I can't live the way we're living. And I was being true to myself, and I had to have the encouragement to take that next step, which was the area in our relationship wasn't working, and I said to the universe, what am I supposed to do? And it said leave. Well, as I decided, okay, I'm going to do it, I stood up. It took me about 4 or 5 days, and finally I did it. But I have to be honest with myself. Now, with my husband, I did a soul cord healing, which then reattaches the cord or doesn't. In this case, my husband wanted to be with me, so when time changed, we learned to be in sync. We changed our relationship of communication. Anytime we would not be in sync, one of us would heal or both of us would heal. And I'm talking about using actual tools, because I wanted a person that's going to be in my life the way that I am used to living, because I'm in a different space now. But Jen, she had to do the same thing. She was presented with her relationship with her husband, that whether it works or it don't work. So she then did the same thing, as saying, okay, I'm going to take the encouragement and I'm going to honor my soul. When she moved forward, he's pulled away. He pretty much was done.
Right, when I did this soul cord meditation, his soul basically bowed and walked away. Now his conscious self is not really connected, because he wasn't into any of this stuff, so there was no conscious contact as far as saying, oh well, this is kind of what's going on. No, it was all just very human level breakup thing that I did.
Right, but it's about honoring yourself, and you have, what I can hear is your RTJP of what other people would think. Oh, you should have been more patient. What are you? Greedy, blah, blah. All the negative, denigrating stuff. And all I can say is this is where you hold true to yourself. You already know that you have a pattern that looks like dogma. You're tired of playing the same way. Now, here's the thing. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if this is already the set pattern in your relationship, it probably will be the continued set pattern. If you're happy with it, great. If not, it's time to just be strong and to move forward, okay? Because at this point, you love them, but you also have to understand you have to love yourself. Because if your needs aren't being met, and you go and focus on that other person, your needs are never going to get met, because now you have to live their life, and you are then putting yourself on hold. Right now, you're in freeze mode, and your soul says it wants the hell out. It doesn't like this stage where you have to be, you have to wait for them to make the decision. You have to, you don't have the right to do this. You have to sit there. Well, what I'm hearing is that you need to have the courage to stand up and start realizing, what do I want? And then start going after it. And if he wants you, great. And if he doesn't, then you will drop out of sync even further. And the thing that I will tell you to do is that to heal before you do anything else. And the thing that they want you to heal is that you can feel his defense. So in the relationship, can you feel him being like mad, upset, putting you off?
Yeah, he's been like that for the past couple of weeks. He says he'll call, he doesn't call, all of a sudden he doesn't have time, and then I'm making an issue about time.
Right, it's all your fault then.
And he's saying he's busy with work, and when he gets a chance to call me, and it doesn't happen.
Right. It's on his terms.
Okay.
So it's on his terms.
Yes, and see, your soul's familiar with this because it was, it witnessed this at 4 years old between relationships that you had seen at 4 years old. So I'm going to tell you that you can heal this how you know it, so that you can go ahead and move forward either with him or without him. But my throat, it's the will.
Right, my head started spinning again.
Okay, but what we're going to do is we'll give you the healing tool. You go onto the website and you'll learn about it. I will give you the code, which is R1S. R is in right, 1 is in the first position, the number 1. S is in soft. And then when you look at the site, which is at www.M is in medicine, W is in women, reveal. So it's mwreveal.com. Look under Hope Therapy. Watch it, and remember your code is R1S. Get into that defense mode that he's in, that he's done to you, as well as how you do it to yourself. Feel the crying, feel that it's the same shit, different day, and you're tired of this particular thing. You actually are going to go into thinking about all the stuff that's frustrating you right now. You're going to put it on a scale from 0 to 10, give it a color, as you hold the position with this healing tool, and after, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, and we don't know, but the number will start to come down. The color, because you're going to give it a color too, the color will change. The self-talk will start to calm down. The motions will actually start to subside, and it'll be familiar, but it's not going to hook you and drive you crazy. Now, it'll probably go down to a 3. That means you're going to then probably see something will happen again. You'll get another fresh experience about it. Go back into R1S and give it another color and another number, and then get it back down to 0. Your goal is to get it 0 and white, where all of a sudden it's I don't care. It's not I don't care. It is I don't care. It doesn't make a big deal. You're not attached anymore. You're learning, and your body and your brain are all saying, we don't have to do this. That yes, we don't have to do this. And the blood comes back rushing to your forehead, so that actually you can think your way out of a paper bag. So that is what we would have you give you advice to do. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And do your best on healing, sweetie.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Stay blessed.
Thank you for calling.
We were going to take the next caller. So Jen.
Area code 512. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Oh, we're good. How can we help you?
Well, I just like a general reading.
You bet. No problem with that. Now you understand that when we do a general reading, it's the energy of what your soul is that wants you to look at specific things, or it could be a good reading. It depends, but your soul wants to evolve. I feel like you got scrambled energy. I don't know why. Well, it's not yours. You pick up other people's energies. Interesting. Do you have kids?
No.
Okay, because I just see a lot of little tiny tornado energies, and then they're pointing it out that they're kids. It's the kid's energy, and they're buying for your attention. They want attention. So no, I've just got to figure out, is that part of the reading? No, they just want to bring that up. Well, that's good to know. So what is the general reading? And it is, wow. The energy, you have great shields up, which means there's a part of you that wants to receive but don't know how to receive, and that's why you're stuck repeating the same pattern. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's funny because you stand there going, but I'm open, I'm ready to receive, and your soul says, yeah, no. And that's simply because, now I just have to find it.
Defense mechanism.
About 4 years old, yes, he had to learn to put the safety guard up because it was the indecisions of others that would drive this person crazy. And are you a great decision maker?
Well, yes and no.
Well, do you have to make great decisions for people?
I make excellent decisions for others.
Yes, that's what I wanted to point out. Yes, and that's because they said at 4 years old, the people are driving you crazy. So then you turned around and started to figure out how to help and direct people, because that energy of them being lost just drove you crazy. Now, the question that your soul is saying is, well, why can't I do it for myself as easily as I help others? And that's because you really never had anybody to help you. They never were there to give you those decisions, never were there to give you certain directions. They gave you, I hate to say this, but have you ever had anybody dictate to you what needed to be done?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there's a difference between directing and dictating, and you didn't dictate. You learned to direct and help, and people like that. But the dictating is like, okay, no, I don't want this in my space. But you would actually like support for somebody to actually come along and help you. Because when you're about to dream to do what you want, then it seems like the dictator shows up. And I don't know what I want to say, call you out, call it stupid. It's like you're asking for advice, not really for them to tell you yes or no, but to have a sounding board. You can talk to somebody. But instead, you don't get the sounding board, you get, I'm sorry. Right, all I get is, you're stupid. That's all the way I keep hearing is the way they say these things to you. And you're like, but.
That's not what I asked for.
Yeah. All right, Jen has drawn some cards, so I'm going to let her tell you about the reading.
Okay, so the idea of trusting is risky. Well, and now it sounds kind of obvious as to why. So there's too much risk involved in the idea of trust, and that came in at the time of birth. They're saying that it's time for a new perspective, because it feels like you isolate yourself because of all the broken promises that are in and around you.
Now, it's funny, as you're giving him the reading, it's like him trying to have a communication with people, and I felt like you were talking really fast. I know you weren't, but I felt like you were talking really fast, trying to get out the important words before you're getting ready to be cut off.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's probably what he does.
Do you get cut off when you're trying to talk about certain things?
Well, I'll explain this to you because you're partially right. I'm a modern day muse. I can help people create miracles for themselves.
Excellent.
As far as my own life, I've got a job that I really dislike with a man that's totally manipulated me, and I've totally changed careers in the last 9 years. I have a little 9-year-old daughter, which is not the whirlwind. It's kind of funny, the whirlwind, I see it clearly. I have a aspiration to start a school for children, and I'm waiting on this investment of mine to pop, which can pop at any time, and I will start this school. So
Okay, so now here's the thing. Let me look at this. Yes, I still see those little whirlwinds, and I feel like that's a big yes. Okay? So now I got to find out, in order for you to get this to happen for yourself, is this person, the manipulator, the person you still have issues with? Yes. Is there still lessons to be learned? Yes. Okay, so we're going to preserve all the positive learnings. And what is it that it needs closure so they can move on? And that is...
It sounds like there's, because we...
he's got to feel the contempt.
Yeah, the familiarity of what we were looking at last night with me, that I don't want to create anything new, because then people are just going to come in and take a big dump on it. but it's easy for me to get involved in other people's projects and give energy and enthusiasm and get those going because it feels like there's less to lose when it's involved with somebody else, so I can work and collaborate with others. But if I'm going to do something on my own, it doesn't feel like it's going to come to fruition. So it feels like it's not the exact program, but there's some familiarity.
But yes,
around that.
It goes back to what. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's
What?
not really totally like that. What it's like is, I see this world is already being done to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the things we're doing out there, I really kind of have a belief system that we're just feeding this machine that's not serving us. So I haven't landed in something that really is going to have sustainability or God or a positive effect in this world. That's how I feel about things.
Okay. So the thing. Okay. So I can see how Jen was seeing it from her side, and
I don't want to do it just for money.
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to say, and I'm kind of void of the other inspiration to have something that I just want to do.
Okay. So let's put money off to the side. Let's say the universe has already provided that for you. Then is there anything stopping you from doing your dream?
No.
Okay.
I
So
know exactly what's going on at that point.
okay. So if we allow that dream just to come to pass, saying this is what you need to do, then do you have money issues in that right now?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to ask the universe is because somehow this is all interconnected, okay? The main thing that you are needing to look at is because this person, for some reason, has contempt for your creativity. But it feels like they still can control certain things, okay? Does this make sense? It's like you can't. It's like you boomerang.
I don't see how this person is important that much, but this person is a sociopath. He's sick.
Okay, but
He's a parasite living off me.
correct. But you have not got him out of your life, and we are asking your soul, why is it that he's still there? Because once you resolve certain things, then this parasite will actually have to leave because there's nothing there feeding it. So I'm looking on that soul level. What is causing this? Do you understand what I'm looking at? Because this person needs to be out of your space. According to what your soul is saying, is that you really can't take this next big leap because you have this great big weight stuck on your ankle and it's not letting go. You've kicked it off 1,000 times and it just keeps coming back.
And if it's not him, then it will be somebody else because this program needs to be resolved.
Right, and it'll be worse than the first. So we want to make sure that you can resolve this so that when you go to do what you need to do, you're not going to have this around you. So I asked the soul, why is it that this person is still hanging on? And it has to do with a story. This is this person has a signature that's very similar to what you saw at 3 years old. And you watched people manipulating other people at that age. Okay, you took it in. It's that signature of this person. You have, now I'm not going to even look at it because there is the layers, and one of the layers that causes him to stay attached is the word contempt. And it's not his contempt, it's your contempt. You're upset by this. You are tired of this. Anything that you have that says, then that means you're still feeling this cord with this person. Now, I'm going to look deeper. Why is it so important that this person stay in his space? And it is cloudy thinking. And is that yours? No. So when you grew up, did you watch this sort of relationship happen? Hello? Okay. And because you saw this, your soul is asking you that you're supposed to resolve this. You're supposed to see it as a kid. And when you watched it growing up, these people that I want to just say sociopath, never left, right? Correct. Because you are now the adult and you get to make these conscious contacts and make these choices. But what it is that happened at 3 years old was that you had to see this, because this is referred to as a past life. This is referred to as unfinished stuff, and that you have to set the stage so that you can get to a certain place where you can actually resolve it. And now you're at the place where you can resolve it and look at that stage from the past. And that's what I'm helping you to understand, is that this was already sitting there. Now we need this resolved. And as again, I asked your soul, do you want it resolved? It said yes. What's the best way to resolve it, to get this person out of your space